What's up guys, John Delgado here, and today we're going to make a video going over how to readjust or zero gap the blade on your trimmers. So this is going to be a very entry level version of readjusting or zero gapping your trimmers. Nowadays there's a lot of different ways of doing it. You can get very technical. There's specialty tools that are made out there for doing this now. There's even people that are grinding down the edge of their trimmers to have modified trimmers and things like that. So we're not going to be doing that. We're going to be just doing a very basic how-to in terms of how to readjust the actual blade. So if you've ever bought a trimmer and you feel that out of the box it's not cutting right, the blade looks crooked, maybe you just wanted to cut just a little bit sharper, this is a video for you. So we're going to be adjusting the blade on this T-Outliner. This is a very old T-Outliner, it's about 8 years old. I don't have it in my daily rotation, so it's been sitting for about a year and a half and it needs a new blade. The blade right now, it doesn't even move, right? So if you look closely, you will see the trimmer on, but my blade's not working. That happens because I've left it out, hasn't been oiled, hasn't been sprayed down, and it's rusted, so it's just not going to work. So don't think that if that happens to your trimmer that you need to throw it away. You might just need a new blade that gives your trimmer a whole new life. Alright? So we're going to be doing that. So that's tool number one. Tool number two, a new blade. Have a new blade here. We're talking about what it's made up of to kind of go over so you better understand how to adjust it. Tool number three, screwdriver with a Phillips head. Tool number four, towel, which is more just a pretty place to place my tools for this video. We're going to be wiping down oil and things like that. Tool number five is going to be some cool care. Tool number six, some dry care. And tool number seven, some oil. And I'm going to go over what all these tools are for in the transgression of this video. So let's get started. Alright guys, so this is going to be the replacement blade that we're going to be adjusting. So this blade is made up of three parts. So the first part is going to be the cutting blade, second part bracket, and the last is the stationary blade. So let's take this apart. So now you can see we have the cutting blade here, we have the bracket, and then we have the stationary blade. So the bracket holds the cutting blade, and that's what positions it, and it basically aligns it with the stationary blade. This blade moves, this blade stays still. So if this blade in the mail, maybe the clipper, the box was dropped, it came in, and now you find that your blade is crooked, right? So that's an exaggeration, but you know, you'll find that sometimes it'll be crooked, you can eye it, it just may need to be realigned. Or if maybe you're looking to close the gap, or what they call zero gap, the cutting blade with the stationary blade to get a closer cut, then you would adjust this bracket. So before we do that, we're going to go over how we're going to take off and remove and clean our trimmer first. So what we're going to do first is we're going to use our Phillips screwdriver, take off these two screws, and we're going to start taking off the old blade. You'll see it's full of hair, it's rusted, and this right here is probably not going to be working very well and needs to be replaced. Now, although this might look dirty, that's exactly why we have dry care. So dry care is compressed air, and basically it cleans off the hair inside the clipper. Take off some excess hair, right? This is no good, so we'll throw that away. You got some dirt, grime in there. So dry care is supposed to clean that all out. Now we have our towel here. Clean off as much of this as possible. And you'll see that this bracket here is basically what moves and what will be connecting to our moving blade and makes it move. Alright, so now we're ready to make the adjustment on our cutting blade. So what we're going to do first is we're going to set this down, and we're going to readjust, we're going to loosen these screws. We're going to turn it just half a turn. We don't want to loosen it too much. And what that's going to do is going to allow us to move this bracket, which will allow the cutting blade to be wherever we want it to. We can place it wherever we want it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this flat surface, because the way I like to adjust my blades is I like to put it flat, push down, right? Push down like that on the cutting blade, and then I'll hold it at an angle. So if you see, I'm holding it just slightly forward, and what that does is that it gives me a little bit of room between the cutting blade on the bottom and the stationary blade, because you don't want the blades to line up perfect, because it'll bite, it'll scratch your customer. And then while holding it in place, we will adjust one of those screws just a little bit. We'll set that down, and I will tighten. So this, the same way you don't loosen it too much, you don't want to tighten it too much. So I'll inspect it, and I'll make sure that it's lined up, it's not crooked, and you'll be able to, when you eye it, you'll be able to see whether or not the moving blade is straight or not as it relates to the cutting blade. I'm sorry, the stationary blade. So once I'm happy with that, I'm ready to just put this back on to my trimmer. But the one thing I want to make sure is that I have lubrication. So before we put that on, we're going to use some clipper oil, and I'm just going to lubricate just a little bit, just one dot here in the channel and another dot here in the channel. And what that's going to do is that it's going to make sure that these two pieces here that are actually the bottom pieces, 1, 2, that are making contact with the stationary blade can move freely, right? Once we have the blade on our trimmer, we'll add a couple more drops of oil to make sure that it runs smooth in the top section. So we're going to put that together. So we got those tightened. We want to over tighten, and we'll turn it on, and now you'll see that the same trimmer that was jammed with this old blade now runs pretty smooth, and it sounds pretty nice compared to how it wouldn't move before. Before we start cutting, we're gonna add 1, 2, 3 drops of oil to make sure that it's nice and lubricated. So the last thing we'll do is we'll get some Cool Care, okay, and we'll spray that down to not only disinfect, but also this is a rust preventative. So I didn't use this because this trimmer was sitting for about 1.5 years. It was just away in a closet, and so guess what? Rust was created on the old blade, and it won't let it work right. So by using some Cool Care, that prevents this from happening again, and now this blade and this trimmer is as good as new. To test, I'll get it on the back of my palm of my hand, and I'll cut. You can see it's cutting the hair. I want to test it flat, and I want to see how it cuts. Does it cut well? Good. If it bites and it hurts, and you want to test the edges as well. If they bite, you might have the blade crooked, you might do it again. This is something that you might need to adjust this blade 2 or 3 times before you get it just right. So again, we'll test the edges, cuts, but it doesn't hurt, and then we'll flip it, and we'll also get it to cut this way. So that way it's good for lining, and it's good for fading as well, right? Now, after you oil it, you'll always have some excess oil. We'll wipe that off. We don't want it to be on the client, and you're all set. So this has been how to adjust the blade on your trimmer, how to zero gap it or realign it, how to get it to cut closer or to cut smoother and make it not bite. Hopefully you guys have learned something. Remember to lubricate, oil, clean it out of hair. Very important to maintain the life of your trimmer blades, make it last longer. If you don't do that, it might last you a month or 2. If you take care of it, it'll last you 6 months, 12 months, depending on how much you use it. But if you like the info, you like the video, subscribe to the page. We have more videos coming up. Thanks for watching.